In this movie, we're going to be doing the final part of this project. We're going to import, or we're going to open up InDesign and put in our TIFF, our flattened TIFF. We're going to reset our type, put the Illustrator logo in there. Then we're going to save it as a PDF, which the printer can use. We're also going to save a package or collect for output, and that will make a folder that has the InDesign document, the fonts that were used in the job, and all the assets that were needed to recreate that InDesign document. So we're going to switch over to InDesign. When you launch InDesign, you can go here and say New Document, or File New, or Command N. So many ways to do it. Alright, and then we get our points and picas set up again. But we're going to do this in inches. Now in this case we want our width and height to be our final size, not plus the bleed. We'll add the bleed later. So right now 24 inches, remember you have to make sure it says inches so that it can recalculate that. I'm tabbing to the next one and typing 12 inches high, tabbing again, only one column this time. When this is gray, that means they're linked, and if I change one of them to 0 and hit tab, it changes them all to 0. So for the bleed, we need a ½ inch of bleed. So 0.5 inch, if I hit tab, they all change. I'm going to lock this one too, and I'm going to make that 1 inch of slug area, which is just some extra white around the whole thing. If I hit tab, I'm ready to open. If you don't see this at the bottom, more options will give you that. Okay, and there's our document. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This magenta line with the drop shadow on this side represents that 12 by 24 area. So that's where it's going to cut out to when it's printed finally. Here is our bleed marker. So this is a ½ inch farther out, and this is an inch out, and that's the slug area. So we need to know these things when we're aligning. We want color to come all the way out to the bleed, but we don't want it to go into the slug. And we don't want it to stop here either. So we need to bleed out to that red line. That's why it's red, because it's the bleed line. Anyway, so I'm going to get my JPEG image, which has the white border, the type and the logo in it, so that I know where to put the type and the logo. So I'm going to say here, File Place, or Command D. I'm going to navigate, I think it's on my desktop, my folder here, Project 1 folder, and inside my high res I should find my JPEG and my TIFF. So I'm going to open my JPEG first, and I'm going to place it at the corner of the red line, of the bleed line, just like that. And see how it opened up exactly on the bleed line, because it was made to the correct size. Okay, now remember it's kind of low res. I've got that low res thing going on here. So I'm going to change under View. I want to go to Display Performance and change it to High Quality, because I'm going to need to align the logo and the text to my FPO here. And FPO just stands for Position Only, and that's what this is. It is also on layer 1 right there, and I'm going to lock layer 1 so I can't move it. I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to call this layer the logo. Alright, and then guess what I'm going to bring in with this layer active? Close it out. I'm going to do the File, Place, and this time that's going to be in my EPS folder. This is my logo with the black tagline. So I'm going to double click that. It loads it up on my brush. I'm going to click it anywhere on the page. I'm going to zoom in down here. I'm holding down Command and Shift and making the marquee around that so it fills up my page. And then I'm just going to scale this so it fits here. Okay? And I'm going to put it kind of in the middle where the X is, And then I'm going to choose this little guy way up in the corner here and make sure it's in the middle too, because when I start scaling, that's where it's going to scale from. Then I'm just going to go to this where it says 100%, and that's the size of the image and window. Actually, it's the window size. But because they're locked, I can scale it down and it will shrink in small increments until I get it to about the size I want it. And then I'll move it. And I'll be done with it. Okay, so that's about, you can move it around with the arrow keys too if you'd like to. But that's close enough. Alright, so there, I'm going to zoom back out again. My logo is on the logo layer. I'm going to lock that layer so I don't move it. I'm going to make a new layer, and we're going to call this layer the text layer. Okay, and guess what we're going to put on the text layer? That's right, we're going to retype this type because it's not in our TIFF. It's only in this FPO, our JPEG file. So I'm going to drag a window anywhere around the type, because you need a text window to type in InDesign, and then I'm going to just retype the headline. Doesn't matter where it is and what it, how big or what color it is right now. I'm just going to retype it. So okay, that's pretty small. So with this tool selected, the selection tool, black arrow tool, I can go to my characters palette and I can start making changes here. First of all, the size of that font is too small for me to see. And basically I want to do everything the same as I did it in Photoshop, if I remember what my settings were. If not, I can go back in Photoshop and look. But right now, I know that I have it flush left, rag right, so I can change that under paragraphs. I'm going to move this over to the other side so I can see what I'm doing here. I'll move it, right here. Do a little zoomy. Okay. Now this might not work in zoom. So back to this. I believe my text was, and I'm just down arrow keying through this stuff, is that guy right there. I think I set it at 140 on 130 of leading. Well, that's starting to look good. Now I'm going to move. Now I left it in black on purpose so that I could see the difference. If you typed it in white, it would be bad. It would be really hard to see if you hit it or not. So it should be a different color than what you're trying to match it to. I believe that this was 150 over 140. And that looks much closer. Now I'm just arrow keying that box because it's selected. I can move it around with my arrow keys. And that's where I'm going to leave that. The only thing I need to do now is change the color. So I'm going to dock this again. I'm going to go to my swatches. I'm going to make sure this little teeny T is selected. That's the color of my text now is black. And I want to change that to paper, which is white. Okay? So close that down. Next thing I want to do is bring in my real image. So I'm going to lock the text layer, make a new layer, call it image. And then I'm going to go, file, place. And now I want to go back to my high-res folder and pick my TIFF this time and not my JPEG. So here's my TIFF. I want it to fall in the same place on the bleed line. This time it'll fill the bleed and not be blocked out white like our JPEG is. So I clicked up there. It's in the same place. If I turn that layer off, I can see it's in the same place, but this time it doesn't have the logo or the text. So the other thing I need to do is move it down so that the text and the logo layer are on top of the image layer. So I'm just going to select that layer and click and drag it down to, and now it's underneath the text and the logo layer. Also, I can get rid of this layer. It's the one that has our FPO on it. I don't need it anymore. Oops. That was making a new layer. How about deleting? Deleting. It's telling me there's objects on this layer. Do you want to throw it away? Yes, I want to throw it away. There's my image layer, my logo, and my text layer. And, oh, I haven't saved yet. I should have saved when I started. So let's go ahead and save now. Save. In this case, I'm going to save it to the top layer where all the folders are inside my job folder. Okay? I'm not going to put it in one of these folders. It's going to be in the same layer with those folders. It's going to be P1 for project 1. There's only one, so I'm going to call it my name. And I'm going to leave it as a CS. I'm going to leave it as this because it's the only thing I can choose besides template. And say save. Okay. Now from this, I'm going to make my PDF, my portable document file. And where is it? Let's see. It's under export somewhere. Export. Command E or export. All right. And it's the print one is the one that we want. So down here under format, make sure this says Adobe PDF print. We're going to leave the same name again, and we're going to leave it in the same folder structure. So it's going to be on the same layer in the folder, or in the same folder as our InDesign document. Okay, I'm going to say save, and then we have to deal with this dialog box. Under General, we're going to leave this all exactly the way it is. Under Compression, we're going to leave this the way it is because 300 dpi is what we want. Under Marks and Bleeds, we're going to turn all of this on. Just leave it, turn all this stuff on, and then here where it says offset, I want that to be a 1/2 inch. So again, 0.5 and then inch, the inch mark so it knows to change that. Okay? Under output, it's going to convert it to US web quoted swap v2, which is what our image is anyway. So that's good. There's no changing of color space here. And the rest of these things we can forget about for now, and then I'll just hit export. And once it exports, this could take some time, it should open in a preview, and I can see, I'll zoom this down a little smaller, I can see that I have all my marks, my registration marks, my page information, my little color bars. So these marks here are where it's going to trim. It's going to cut, when they print this, it's going to cut off here and cut off here. And then this inside will be the image area. So that's how to make the PDF. Now, I want to make the package. And the way I do the package is to simply go here under File, Package, Package, Continue. It's going to ask me where to put it. I'm going to leave it right in the same place. It's going to make this, and that's going to be the folder name. I'm going to leave all those things on and hit Package. It's giving me a blah 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 about restrictions and copyright infringement. I don't want to see that every time I do this. And here it's making the package, and it's done. So if I go now, one more time, I'm going to save this document. So, well, I can't. So I just want to make sure it's okay. I'm going to go to the desktop, somehow get to the desktop, find my empty job folder, which is one of these. Let's see if it's in here. Yes, so here's all my stuff. This is the temporary folder that InDesign makes. It'll go away when InDesign is closed. There's my PDF. This is the one I'm going to send to the printer. I'm going to actually send all this stuff to the printer. And then this is my my collect for output, or my package folder, which has all the fonts that I used in it. It has all the links, and that is it. You're ready to go. Thanks for watching.